Hi, it's Jason with Akkio. Let's take a look at some marketing data. We want to look at return on spend, maybe where I should spend my marketing dollars, that sort of thing. So I've got a data set, and the way I get that data set uploaded is by doing this. I'll click on Create New Flow. I've just logged into my Akkio platform. Create new flow, and I'm going to choose my data source. Now, in the case of marketing spend, you might be pulling this data from a CMS or something like that, or a CRM. Maybe you're pulling it from something like Google Analytics or a related service. In a lot of cases, you'll have it in a data store, something like Snowflake or Google BigQuery, even just a Google Sheet. Now, mine was a CSV because I pulled it off of an open source data set warehouse, so I pulled it in as a table. So I just clicked on this, found the table, pulled it in, and now we're working with it. Let's go back and take a look at what I've already done. So mine's called Marketing Campaign. You see, I have a number of flows here, a number of projects as well. That's a great thing. I can share these, I can collaborate across teams. In this case, I'm working on this one by myself. So you see my data set has about 60,000 rows. It's not a ton of data. A very common question that we get is, how much data do I need? In this case with marketing data, as much as you have. If you have a year's worth of data, 2 years worth of data, that's great. Do you need millions of rows when it comes to marketing? I don't think so. You don't. In fact, evidence has shown inside the platform that that just isn't the case. So in my case, I've got I think about 9 months worth of data here, or maybe 6 months I have here because I filtered a little bit. It's about 60,000 rows, so it's not a ton of data, but it's enough for me to get some real good insights and see where I should spend my dollars next. Let's take a look at the data real quick and what I did to it, and then we'll talk about the goal that I wanted out of this. So I've got number of days that it was going on the platform, number of days the campaign was running, the date it was running. It's called time, but that's a date. It's not my data set. The service name that was running, I think I have 3 of those: Facebook, Google Ads, DV360. Width and height of the ad itself, if it was a box ad. Some of them are empty because they're not. Search tags, landing page, advertiser name. You see very typical things. Now, what I'm really concerned about is impressions and clicks, right? I want to worry about how many clicks did I get coming to my website, and then which landing page it was on, maybe something like that. Everything's in USD, or most of it's in a couple different currencies, AED and USD, so we could always transform that if we wanted to, if we want to do some conversion. And then media cost used, and then I also have a budget in here, and I also have a spend. So I can kind of correlate those across the data set. Now, I've done some cleanup. Every once in a while, you'll have data in your data set that is outliers. Like I had one campaign that had thousands of clicks, which most of them are under 100. So I removed that one because it was an outlier. I can always look at that one individually. But that's the cool thing about Akkio. At the top here, it shows you clicks, for instance. We top out at about 100 or so, and it says, here's our distribution of our clicks. Now, of course, most campaigns have very few clicks, very, very low, and that's what we expect. It also tells, so distribution of data is important, because if you have any outliers, you can always remove those. And then I'll show you how I do that. And then also impressions. What are our impressions? How is it correlated? So, of course, clicks, directly correlated with impressions, that makes sense. Also directly correlated with cost. Now, it's not deterministic, but it tells us there is a correlation, and that makes perfect sense in this case. Now, if I did have outliers, how do I remove those? Well, the first thing I do is clean. I just clicked on clean right here, and I clean those by doing a few things that are out of the box. Like these are checked for me automatically. I standardized date columns. There were some funny dates in this one as well, and I standardized them. Just had dashes or periods rather than the format that I wanted, so I just made them all the same. Remove nulls, remove excess categories with other. There was tons of other. There's still one left, but there was enough in there that I wanted to leave it. Constants, if there's a column that just has the same value the entire way down, just remove it. It doesn't help. Unreadable, and then blanks. I can also flag outliers and inliers if you wanted to do that. So I've already run this one. I don't need to run it again. But if I want to do something else, maybe I want to say only show me things in the last 30 days. I can do that here. I can say only show data from the last 90 days, something like that. If I run this, it's going to give me a preview. It's going to tell me, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I understood. And then it says the transform converts a time column to format, and then it says only includes rows where the time's the last 90 days. It's going to remove about 25% of my data. So I don't want to do that, but that's an example of what you can do very easily. I can also say remove outliers from this column that are outside the standard deviation, or 2 standard deviations, whatever you wanted to do. It's capable to do in chat data prep. So give that a shot. And you can see I did some of the stuff at the top, right? I've done some things. I said marketing campaign data set time shift. I kind of moved the date so it made more sense for current values. Some things like that. If you don't like something you've done, you can always come up here and click X and you just remove it. So you're not doing anything permanently to it. Now, if you did like what you did here and you want to download that data set for future use, you can also download that here. I'll download it as a CSV, and then you can do whatever you want with it. A lot of times I'll transform it, I'll download it, and then I'll use it in another flow. You don't have to necessarily do that. I can always go back to the homepage and choose duplicate as well, but there's a bunch of different options depending on what you're trying to do. Transforming your data in Akkio is definitely useful. So let's get back to the point. I have a limited budget. What am I going to accomplish with that budget in this data set? Where should I spend my dollars? So if I hit edit project goal up here, this is the prompt you'll get as soon as you upload data. It says describe the goal of this project to get your AI generated report. And I said I have a small budget. I'm most concerned with which channel has the most clicks for the media cost. And I've already generated, so I'm not gonna make you wait, but it took about a minute. I have about 60,000 rows. How much data do you need is usually the question that's asked at this point. As much as you have, right? Just as much as you have. I think I've explained that right. Now, if I go to reports, here's some cool reports we got. So this is auto-generated. You can see that at the top. You see the prompt that I used, right? Same one. And I have my 3 different service names. So Facebook ads, DV360, Google ads. And you see my distribution and scatter plot. This looks pretty evenly distributed. I don't see a certain advertiser that's doing better than others. So my campaigns, which are already tailored for Facebook or Google ads or DV360, depending on, I've already tailored them a little bit, seem to be working and pretty evenly distributed. But I can look, some I spent very little money on and I got very little return. Some I spent a lot of money on and I got a good return. And some I spent a lot of money on and I didn't get a good return, but it's pretty evenly distributed. It's not necessarily one advertiser or the other in this case, but there are some that I might want to look at. So I could certainly create a report that says, just show me these. Show me where the media cost is high and the number of clicks is low. Let's save that a little bit. Now, if I like this, of course, I can add this to a dashboard and share this with my business if I want to. I can actually share it publicly if I want to as well. So I've got another bar chart here. This, again, auto-generated, approved budget, external service name. It's the same budget for all 3, so that's fine. It's useful, but if I don't like it, I can always delete it. A bar chart showing the distribution. You can kind of see the separation there a little bit of each one of my advertisers and the clicks that I got, and then my average clicks, which we saw earlier, kind of tops out right around 100, but most of them are down here, which is pretty typical. And then a box plot, again, very evenly distributed across my advertisers, but my box plot showing media cost that I spent, of course, because I spent the same across all my advertisers. So some are more useful than others. Again, if I like these, I can add to dashboard. If I want to create a new chart, I just hit create new chart, and let's go explore the data a little bit. In fact, we're going to go do that. So right now, I'm kind of concerned with media costs versus number of clicks. Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go to Explore at the top, and I get some prompts here. It gives me some ideas. Scatter plot of creative width versus creative height. What's the average number of impressions? But I want to say, if I go back to my report, I want to look at, what was that? I want to say media cost versus number of clicks. Let's see what that does. Okay, let's recreate that and just get it on this screen. We'll take a look. There we go. Okay, looks right. Now this isn't by advertising. That's okay. I'm not concerned about that yet. So let's see, we're exploring a little bit more. Now we want to say anything that's above 15, so, and below 20. So show me. There we go. So now we're focusing in, we're narrowing it. I can always zoom into the chart. I just want to create a chart of its own. Media cost above 20. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Media cost above 20. Oh, let's copy that and do it again. Media cost above 15, excuse me. Even when you do something wrong, it helps you. There we go. So now we have our distribution of what data we had. You can see it right there. And we can kind of take a look at this. Let's see. Individual X. Okay, what do we have? Is there any similarities in that data? Let's say between those rows. So right now I'm identifying where I shouldn't spend my dollars. They have unique service names. So there's nothing really interesting about those, but I can always show through this. Now I can always download this as well, which will give me my complete list. Can you chart that? Let's go back up here and ask it this way. Perfect. Okay, so now we can see the distribution. Now what we can do is zoom in on these a little bit. So this gives me an idea of what I'm spending a lot on, but I'm getting low clicks from, right? I already have a list, which I could use. Go back to my campaign IDs, go back to what channel it's on, that sort of thing. Maybe time of day, that sort of thing might have an impact as well. Let's do the opposite. Let's find out the ones that have a high number of clicks, but a low cost. If I scroll back up, if I go back and look, I can say, let's go actually go back to my report here. What am I looking at? I want to say they have a high number of clicks, but a low cost. So let's say these guys here in this quadrant. So number of clicks above 80, but a cost below 5. And again, I'm going to ask for a table because I'm going to download this table and I'm going to say, well, these are not only the service names, but the times, which date do these occur on. And then it looks like some of them are kind of similar here, and see what the similarities are. Now I could always take this offline as well. I could create a data set. I could go back to prepare and say create a data set with this alone as well. Maybe it's an advertiser that's there. These do look a little similar. Very interesting. And what time zone they're in. So we would want to look at this data, maybe pull it off, download it, and do some feature analysis on it. Let's do some predictions here. So if I go to the top, I can click on predict. And now we're saying it's a time series data set. Now we have a couple data sets we can do. We can do predict or forecast. Let's actually do a forecast here. And if we look, we have time, right? I don't have an ID field here besides channel name. So this will be Facebook, DV360, or Google Ads. Let's do that. And then if I scroll down, what do I want to say? I want to say, let's do impressions. We've worked on clicks a lot. Now let's say create predictive model, and let's see what it comes up with. All right, what it came up with is pretty awesome. 8% accuracy at the top, and we can see moving forward what our predicted impressions are. This is fantastic, this is useful. So a few things we did is we found out where our high spend is and our low clicks are. That's great, we have a table of that. We can start to analyze that further. We also have a table of what our low spend is and high clicks are. We can analyze that, see if there's any similarities, anything we can work on there. And then we've also got a forecast at where we think our impressions will go if we keep doing what we're doing now. And we can always adjust this moving forward. So a few things we've done with Akkio in just a few minutes, looking at a data set we haven't looked at before. I did some manipulation of the data. I did some exploration of the data. We generated some BI reports automatically using Akkio just by giving it a prompt. And then we did some further analysis very quickly in there. So take your data set, upload it to Akkio, and have fun.